right, we are back. Welcome to Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I am here, your host, and I am absolutely excited to be here with you guys on today. It's so much going on in the world. Right here in America, the World Cup has been having some amazing games. A lot of great things are going on. But today I actually want to talk to us. I'm going to bring it all the way down today. I want to talk to us today about generational wealth. That's what I want to talk about today. Real generational wealth. It's, I'm looking at what's going on in the world. I'm looking at what people are talking about, what people are doing. A lot of times people right now seem like they're like a robot, just kind of like going through the motions, but no real power behind it and all of those things. Don't seem like people have a direction. Don't seem like people are doing and going to places they want to do. But today I want to talk about something I believe all of us need from every corner of the planet. All of us need, in my opinion, generational wealth. Now, if you are like me that didn't come from money, this is your podcast. If you're somebody that have some monies and your family may have some monies, but you're trying to understand it, this is your podcast. When you talk about generational wealth, it's not what most people think. It is just not. It's not that. So before I get deeper into it, I just want to say hello to all of our first-time listeners, regardless of where you're calling in from. Thank you so very much for being a part of Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I appreciate you guys being with us. I really, really do. And for all of our returning family members, all of us that's here week after week just supporting the show, prayerfully you guys are learning something, listening to things, hearing things. I truly, truly, truly appreciate you guys. Listen, go over to YouTube. And on YouTube, subscribe. Be our, subscribe with us. Be there. Go there, like, listen, subscribe, share it, send comments, all of those good things over on YouTube. I'm also on all of the social media. Well, I don't say all of them. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I got tired. It just seemed like another social media platform keeps coming out. So I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So go and join us over there. Send me a message or two if you're looking for all of the housed podcasts that I've done over these last 6 years. I can't believe it's 6 years, but over these last 6 seasons, go to Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette.com, and that's LETS. Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette.com, and you can get all of the previous podcasts there. All right, so let's get into it. I want to talk about generational wealth. Really, really, really talk about generational wealth. Now, we hear about some of the bigger names that consistently have wealth going in year after year, decade after decade, generation after generation. We talk about the Rothschilds. We talk about the Rockefellers. We are soon going to be talking about the Gates and Jeff Bezos and his family and so many other individuals, even Elon Musk and all of his family. And those individuals are going to be doing some incredible things. But do you guys know there's other people that leave generational wealth? It may not be to the multis of hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars, but they also leave generational wealth. You look at what the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is doing over there and how they're consistently keeping their monies going, and what's going on in some of the wealthy nations in the Middle East and how they're producing that. But if you come back into America, there are other individuals that may not have the multiples of billions, but they have a couple of billions. If you look at what some of the celebrities are doing, you look at what Michael Jordan has done, you look at what Beyonce and Jay-Z has done in terms of building that level and beginning to create those multiple generations of wealth. They're doing some amazing and phenomenal things. Today, though, I want to talk about us, because we may not be in that position, and most people believe generational wealth is just leaving monies to their children. And that's one of the biggest, listen to what I'm saying, one of the biggest financial myths of all time. When I say one of the biggest, is one of the biggest. I mean, money alone is not generational wealth. I mean, money can disappear. If you look at some people, I do this. Look at what happened in cryptocurrency. And they had some people that was worth 1 minute hundreds of millions of dollars. And in some cases, even a couple of billions. And then next thing you know, one of the actual architects of one of the platforms wound up, they were doing something they didn't have any business. And all of a sudden, overnight, all that money was wiped out. You look at what's going on, and I don't want to call the names because I don't want them to think we're trying to hustle, not hustle, but talk down on them. I don't want to say that. But some other people went in some other directions, and the numbers crash. It's like the stock market crash and the housing and all. So there are people that went from having monies to not having monies because they're just looking at the money standpoint, right? But monies can disappear. Money without character literally destroys families. I want you guys to think about that. If you know people in your family that have money but have no character, it can really destroy families. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even want to be around some people with money. I'm not going to call names, but there are a few people I can think of off the top of my head right now that have monies, but a lot of people don't even want to be around that family. It's causing chaos around the world, and it just don't even want to be around the family. So you can look at that. So money without character is just, it destroys not just families, it destroys a lot of other things as well. Money without a purpose creates, just listen to this word, entitlement. Money without purpose creates entitlement. You know, you feel you're entitled to this and you walk around with your chest puffed out. No, it's more to it. Real generational wealth is creating something that continues to bless your family long after you're gone. That is a powerful statement. That I'm going to ask a question at the very end of the podcast. I got it written down. I'm going to ask a question at the very end of the podcast, and it is going to literally make you think. It's going to make you think. So, you know, just everything I'm doing, I'm just going to ask us some questions. I want to ask yourself one question. I want you to just listen to this question and then answer it to yourself. What am I leaving behind beside money? That's good. What am I leaving behind besides money? You know, if you look at this is a powerful thing. Look at what Dr. Martin Luther King did. He was not a wealthy individual. As a matter of fact, he was a Southern preacher, Southern Baptist preacher. If you look at it, and you're going through the history. I'm not going to give you a history lesson on Dr. King. But if you look at it, he was not wealthy, right? He had a family, and he did what he had to do and created some monies for him and his family and so on, and began to lead these civil rights movements, which is great. But he left behind something that no one, listen to what I'm saying, could create again. Some of his speeches and the notes that he took and the books that he wrote and all of the speeches that he wrote on paper, because back in that day, remember, you had a typewriter and maybe that's it. But you didn't have computers and you could store it in the cloud. So all of those papers became valuable. I mean, extremely valuable. So I remember the King family went and they actually sold the papers to, I forgot whoever, and made millions of dollars off the notes and his speeches, right? That's when you leave behind something that can impact a family financially later. So again, ask yourself this question: what am I leaving behind besides money? That's really, really good. It's going to make you think. It's really going to make you think, but that's what we need to do because we're talking about generational wealth. A lot of times people want to run and talk about generational curses and all of that. We can talk about that another day. But today, I want us to flip that mind and think about generational blessings and how we're going to have this generational wealth going all the way through. I'm just going to give 5 points today, not 10, not 60, but 5 points. If you have something you can take notes or just listen to it. But it is absolutely amazing what we're going to talk about with these 5 points. So number one, God's original design for wealth. So what is God's original design for wealth? God has always thought in generations, not just individuals. You know, last week I had a conversation with my best friend, and I was just kind of going through my own personal history, right, on some things that have happened. And when I really broke it down and I thought about it, I was like, man, that's almost 10 years ago. Yeah, before I got that blessing, right? Now, I'm not saying it'll take blessings 10 years or 50 years. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this was one of those things that opened my eyes in terms of how God actually began working in the future, right? And began putting things in place for all of us to be successful, right? If you look at what Proverbs, 13 and 22, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, not just his child or his children that he fathered. But now we're talking about grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-grandchildren, and so on and so on and so on. The inheritance is much more than money, though. Hear what I'm saying? The inheritance is much more than money. So some of you may say, okay, Stanley, that's cool. I know we always think about money, but what else is left in the inheritance? Some of the things that are left is wisdom. You know, wisdom. You can inherit wisdom, character, leadership, opportunities, faith. Here is the big one that a lot of people miss that I think is amazing. It is amazing. And that is ownership. Yeah, I said it low. I wanted you to hear that. Listen to it closely. It's ownership. It's ownership. Right now, we have to own things. I heard an interview, I think it was with Tiffany Haddish, an actor, a comedian, actress, and she said every time she does a movie, she buys something. And when I say something like land, something that she's invested in, so many different things to begin to create that generational wealth coming back to her, because now she's getting into ownership. You know, those are some of the things that I think is very, very powerful. Money is simply one piece of the inheritance, right? It's just one piece. Just one piece of the inheritance. But if you can have money but don't own anything, you're still paying somebody else. You just have more to pay somebody else, right? You know, a lot of times we talk about athletes, and they get these big bonuses and big salaries, but when you really break those salaries down, so if you take like 100 million and you think about this, let's just say 50% off the rip going to Uncle Sam. So now you had 50 million, right off the top, right there off the top. Now most people not gonna get $100 million contract, but I'm just doing it because it's easy. When you take out all of your entourage, as I'll call it, from your agents and your publicists and your lawyer and your financial and on and on and on, by the time you finish, right, and this 5-year, $100 million contract, when you really break it down, you might be bringing home about 20 million, maybe more. Just say, let's give it a good lick. Say you're bringing home 30 million. If he does or she does nothing else, really nothing else, that's $30 million that they need to carry themselves for the rest of their lives. Most athletes, if they have a long career and they last to 40, now everybody know athletes don't last to 40. Most athletes don't last to 40, but you know, everybody look at LeBron and they say, oh, but LeBron is 40, whatever. Yeah, that's once in a generation, right? So most people don't have I think it's 4 or 5 years. I don't think it's that many years, but let's just say 5 years to be cute, right? Now they got out of college, and let's say 5 years, 22, let's say it's 27, 28-year-old individual. And now you got just 30 million to last you the rest of your life. most people don't have the financial wisdom, the financial faith, the financial integrity to literally have that $30 million flip. So you can live comfortably, have fun, still do all the things, because guess what? A lot of people begin buying things they don't need. Not assets, they buying liabilities, right? They're leasing things they don't, once again, they don't own it. So all of those things we have to take into consideration about wealth. But when you think about it, God is not against wealth. God is against poor stewardship. Hear what I'm saying? God is against poor stewardship. Now, I'm going to pause here and pull this up, because a lot of times we'll talk about stewardship and it sounds good and we generically know what it means. But I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the stewardship side. So think about this: stewardship, the job of supervising or taking care of something such as an organization or property. That sounds pretty straightforward, right? Let me give you another one. This is from the biblical side, right? In terms of stewardship. So biblical stewardship refers to the divine God entrusting responsibility to manage everything God has placed under a person's care. Everything he's placed under person's care. That includes your health. That includes relationships. That includes all of those different things. See, it goes beyond just finances. That also includes your time. Who are you really spending time with? Relationship. I talked about relationship. What about gifts spiritually that you have? Your environment. What environment are you in? I can go on and on and on. So when you're literally talking about stewardship, you're managing all of that, right? And if you don't have the wisdom, the faith, you don't have a real relationship with your creator, man, it may be a little difficult for us to keep, as we made in there, that $30 million. So if you think about somebody managing something very, very little, think about somebody that managed very, very little, and then all of a sudden they exploded to something great. There's a gentleman that played football by the name of Marshawn Lynch. We used to, beast mode, right? And think about this. I remember him just having an interview, and he said, I didn't spend money. People used to talk about me and being cheap and all of that stuff. But when you really got down into the interview, what he was saying, and he literally said it, that he was taking his game checks, his endorsements, and all of those things, and began investing in doing things. So once he retired from football, he will never have to worry about anything. So he started with little, right? And he managed it. He took care of it. He was proper with it. And then now he began investing in doing things that he was supposed to do. You said this story. He was in the locker room, and this guy was going, the jewelry guy had came to practice, and he was going by this big old watch. That wasn't a watch, it was a chain, some kind of chain of like $1 million. It's like, oh, and he said, hey, young buck, don't buy that chain. Go get cubic zirconia or something that sparkle like diamonds, but don't buy it, because what is that going to do, right? So the guy was like, oh man, and he said this. He said, man, I didn't listen to Marshawn, but then later on, right, and then years come in and that wisdom kicked in. He was like, man, that was one of the dumbest moves I ever made. So think about it. When you're managing your finances, you got your not just monies, but you also have to manage everything else that goes with it to make sure that you're going in the right direction, right? So number one was God's original design for wealth. Number two, the biggest myth about generational wealth. The biggest myth about generational wealth. Here it is. Listen to me. Many people confuse being rich with being wealthy. I was one of them. Let me raise my hand. I told this story a lot. When I was on the police department, and even before that, I used to tell people all the time, man, I want to be rich. Because the only thing I would see and hear people talk about rich. Y'all remember the lifestyle of the rich and famous. With Robin Leach. It was Leach, yeah. And go and see all of these people houses for the young folks. That's before even MTV Cribs came out. And then, so on and so on. Y'all get the point. So I just wanted to be rich. I wanted to be rich. I didn't understand the difference. A drug dealer can be rich. Hear me. Yeah, I'm all in y'all grill. Now I know y'all, ooh, drug dealer. Yeah, a drug dealer can be rich. A doctor can be rich. A lawyer can be rich. Let me think, a CEO who doesn't own his company can be rich, right? A newscaster can be rich. But wealth is generational. See, a drug dealer can't will his stuff. I know that sounds funny, but a drug dealer can't will his stuff. A doctor can't will his degree. A lawyer can't will his degree, right? Y'all get my point. So there's a difference between rich and wealth. I always look at it this way. Rich is just yourself or one generation. Wealthy carries generations, right? So I want to make sure that we understand that. But remember, being rich is not generational wealth. Driving a luxury car? No, that's not it. This is another one. A lot of time, man, I didn't realize this until I started talking to people, right? And when you really dig into this, there are a lot of people that was purchasing homes or leasing homes and didn't even own the home. They just didn't own a home. People that have high incomes but owning nothing. Like it baffles my mind even to that. Or somebody leaving an insurance policy but have no financial education on what to do with the money. Right? Why lottery people that win, not the lottery, the Mega Millions and the Powerball and all of those things, they win this $100 million and 2 years later they're absolutely broke. No financial education at all. Soon as they get their money, the first thing they want to do is go buy mom and dad this big, ridiculous house. Oh, I've seen some athletes buying these houses, 17 bedroom. First of all, never mind that because I'm going to get off track. That just makes no sense, right? There's other things, right? People just depend on the one check. So, this person may be the director of so-and-so and have a great salary, $2, $3, $5 million salary, but we're only depending on that one paycheck and own nothing. Looking wealthy and being wealthy are completely different. I talk about this so much when I mentor individuals, right? A lot of times, you won't be flashy, right? The kids, they won't be flashy. They got the latest this and the name brand that and the name brand this and the latest this. Look at what Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Alphabet, I think it is. No, that's not. No. He's the owner of Facebook. I forgot, whatever the name is, right? He was wearing a hoodie. Hello? He's wearing a hoodie, and I think he's like in the top 10 of wealthiest people on the planet. Y'all remember the owner of Apple? I can't think of his name right now. But he will come out just as casual and all that stuff. If you look at what Jeff Bezos put on a daily basis, walking around in t-shirt and flip-flops, nobody, the people that are wealthy are not trying to impress you. If you go back and look at some of the old footage, Sam Walton used to drive a pickup truck to work. Think about this. We're talking about somebody, the owner and created Walmart, right? They're not walking around to say, like, hey, look at me. I got all of this wealth. No, trying to stay low key. Stop being this. Look, write this down. Give it to your kids, your grandkids. This is something you can pass down. Stop being flashy. Stop trying to keep up with people that's lying. Stop trying to keep up with social media. All the people lying, taking pictures on other people's cars, putting it on the gram and then saying, look at me. Stop lying, right? Stay in your lane. Don't be flashy. And even if you get a lick, you get some real money, you win the lottery or the Powerball, or your son or your daughter become a professional athlete and they got this ridiculous amounts of money coming in. The first thing you need to do is not go tell everybody. That's free game right there. You don't need to go tell everybody what y'all just did. No, don't do that. Stay within yourself. Get with some responsible, some integrity individuals that specialize in that, and then help them to structure things so you can have that one lick that will last generations, right? Income pays your bills. Ownership changes your family. Let me say that again. Income pays your bills. Ownership changes your family. Does that make sense to everybody? If you look at, I heard this is. I'm telling y'all, I've been looking at and looking at this stuff, and it's incredible, but it's true. Here's another story. I want you guys to think about this. This is another story, and I was talking to. I can't say names. Hey, I ain't saying no names, but I was talking to him, and I looked at their job like, oh man, that's off the chain. Like, wow. Like, ooh, wee. He's like, you like that, Stan? I'm like, man, yes sir, I like that. And he was like, boy, this thing costs about $100. I was like, well, it looked like $100 million, right? It's blinging, it's decked out. I mean, it's all that. He said, yeah. He said, man, you think I'm going to spend, a couple $1 million on this big this or this big that for what? He said, I got this, and it looked just as good as the real thing. And guess what? I'm walking around and everybody thinking, but I only spent like couple $100 on this thing. That's what we're talking about. They're being smart. But then there's the other side, right? They got something, they walking around looking successful, and they pulling up in their leased vehicle, popping bottles, have all of the bling bling watches and leasing cars and owning nothing. But literally, if something was to happen, all they doing is leaving behind, unfortunately, bills. You look at, unfortunately, with my good friend Aretha Franklin, unfortunately, all of the things that she had to go through, but she didn't leave a proper will. Yeah, see, all of those things matter. Right? So that's number 2. Number 3, what real generational wealth looks like. Real wealth is built on foundations, right? It's just built on foundation. Spiritual wealth, financial education, ownership. There go that word again, ownership. Strong family values, leadership development, because even when you get the money, you have to learn. See, never stop learning just because you get money. Never stop learning just because you turn 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60. Keep learning, right? Keep learning, because you can always lose money. But boy, they cannot take away what's in your thought process, in your mind, and how powerful you are. And I learned this lesson from my mentor. He told me one day, he said, yeah, I could share somebody what I'm doing, and they can go out and do it and may have some success, right? But if you truly true to it, they can't take and do it how you do it and have that same level of success that you have. They will always be the first Home Depot. It's always the first. Everybody can mimic it and can copy and can have some success, but there's always going to be that one Home Depot. There's always going to be that Walmart, and so on and so on. Everybody can try and duplicate it and mimic it and all that stuff, but there's only going to be that one. And you can't take that away from you. The difference in all of this, I'm telling you guys, is education. If you go out and you begin to talk to people in that space and understand, first of all, what your spiritual wealth is, right? And have somebody that can mentor you in that space. If you talk to people with the financial education, and here's the thing, in financial education, make sure you ask questions. Don't have them just say stuff and talk over your head and you don't know what it is. That's your money. They work for you. Don't be an employee. They trying to make you seem like, oh, you need to do this. Oh, no. Time out. Explain to me why. And go into painstaking details until you understand exactly what it is that they're doing with your money. Ownership. And if you own something, make sure you know every single part of that, whether it's the business, if you buying a car, if you buying a house, whatever it is, make sure you understand every single thing that you're signing. Don't just get it because somebody says, oh yeah, it's good, and sign it, and you sign away the rights of your entire name or your life. Oh, no. Make sure you understand that. All right. So that's number 3. What is real generational wealth? We got them down. Spiritual wealth, financial, education, ownership, strong family values, and developing your leadership, because you're going to need that as you continue to go on. See, God increases stewardship before he increases resources. So he'll give you things to oversee and to look after and look behind. I remember when I first started in our company, One Voice, and I was doing pretty well. I was doing some, pretty decent things, and over time became more and more successful, and it was great, having some good things. But here's the thing: we talk about stewardship. I was like, man, I want to do something else and do something more, and getting bigger and helping other people be successful and all of those good things and all of that, and helping others build other companies, and it was great doing that stuff. But I was stewarding and helping others in different areas all over the country, all over the world, just doing those things, and it was good. And then all of a sudden, one day, out of just a surprise, literally a surprise, I think it was in the middle of a training or something, and I was doing something, and I was being congratulated about something, and next thing you know, the CEO of our company literally promoted me to the president of the family of businesses for our company, One Voice. I was completely shocked and blown away. But here's the thing: if I wouldn't have stewardship and being a good steward over the things that in my opinion, God gave me the ability to oversee and manage and all that stuff, and make sure everybody was being uplifted and drilled higher, I would not have been able to be promoted, because I would have been still in self. That's a whole nother topic. We get to that another day. So we got to make sure that we don't stay into self. We got to make sure when we're doing things and we're stewarding over things, or we have to steward over something, that we do it with a great thought and looking towards the future, never pulling anybody down, never tearing anybody down, but making sure we're stewarding over things. Even if you have to dismiss somebody, you can still do it with dignity and still do it with class. You don't have to tear somebody down to destroy them, but you can just release them from whatever it is, because trust me, they will feel the impact of you releasing them, right? So there we go. All right. Number 4. How to build wealth that lasts. How to build wealth that lasts. One thing, just keep it simple. That's the first thing. Spend less than you earn. And I remember a couple of weeks ago, I gave the numbers 10, 10, 25, 55. Go back a couple of weeks and listen to those podcasts. But spend less than you earn. Spend less than you earn. A good friend of mine told me, I think I said this before, one of his direct accountant was like, don't spend more than $5,000 a day, right? Now he's making much more than that and all of those other good things. But again, being educated, keeping it simple, making sure he have generational monies to continue to move forward, all right? Buy assets instead of liabilities. Stop leasing stuff. Stop doing these crazy things that are out here. I'm not saying that leasing something may be something you're leasing for your company, but I'm talking in terms of people literally leasing things for themselves and thinking they're balling so they can continue to get the newest whatever. But at the end of the day, they own nothing. So make sure that we're buying assets instead of liabilities. Now, I'm not going to go through what's the asset and what's the liability on this podcast, but just make sure you're buying assets, right? One of the biggest things that people think are assets is somebody go to the car lot and they go and get the brand new X, Y, and Z vehicle, right? And as soon as you ride off the lot, it depreciates as soon as you drive off the lot. Right off the rip, going down, right? So we got to make sure we understand the differences between assets and liabilities. Own businesses when possible, right? Own a business. own a business. Here is something. I'm going to go back to this. This just popped in my head. I am still confused on why people do non-profits when they have no profits. I do. Hello? No. Own something and then we add the nonprofit, the foundations and stuff so we can help other people. Now we're doing being great stewards over the monies. I think it's reversed. You know, a lot of people say, oh, I'm gonna do a nonprofit. I'm like, well, how, you gonna do this with, oh no, I'm gonna go get a grant. If y'all haven't looked, they're cutting out grants left and right. So that's difficult to do. But if you have your own, and then you can create your own foundation, or you could create your own nonprofit and do those things, that's separate. That's the thing. So that's just my opinion on that, right? Invest consistently. Invest. If you're able to invest, do it. If you're able to invest, do it. If you can't invest, maybe make that one of your goals that, you know what, I'm gonna see if I can begin to understand investing. I'm gonna see what I need to do to invest, and see even if you're just putting on, aside maybe $100 to invest, or whatever it is that you can afford, right? Until you build to where you can invest how you want to invest. Here is another thing I think in the black community we haven't done a very good job at this, and that's teach our children about money early. Not late, but early. I don't think we've done a good job in the black community with this, but teach our children about money early. Protect our assets. Some places we may have to get some type of insurance to cover everything, right? They may have general liability that you have to get for your business or whatever it may be, but let's just make sure that we're protecting our assets, right? This was one that was hard for me. And I was pressed to do this. But that's just writing some stuff down. But create a vision for your family. Create a vision for your family. What you want to do. Don't just leave the inheritance. Leave instructions. Right? That just seems like it's common sense. Don't just leave it, but leave instructions. One conversation around the dinner table can change everything in your entire family. Everything. Just everything. So let me get to number 5. Let me get to number 5. Number 5 is this. What needs to be passed down? What needs to be passed down? Because we've done a lot of stuff with actually passing things down. We already talked about everybody won't pass down their money. Okay, great. But we're not just gonna want to pass down money. Let's pass down our faith. Let's pass down our work ethic. One thing about my mom and my dad, both of them, they're always on time, right? My dad was still living. He was always, when I say always on time, sometimes he's there 45 minutes before, an hour before, 30 minutes before. Talk to my mom the same way, always on time, right? Rolling up, always on time. They are never late. Well, that's something I took for myself. I'm not going to be late, right? It's just not. Financial knowledge. Pass that down to your children, your children's children, and start talking about the actual financial knowledge. Your values. Share your values. What's important? I was being with Gabrielle and we laughing and having a good old time and all those things, but then at the same time, gymnastics, she's off for a couple of weeks for gymnastics. Well, we still got to exercise. We still got to work. We still got to, I say stay in shape, but a 9-year-old. Come on, y'all. But y'all get the point. But stay in shape. Let's do what we have to do. Let's continue to train. Let's continue to have that work ethic. Let's continue to have those values that we need. Let's continue to understand when you see somebody, you share respect with that person. You don't be a snob. You don't be, no. We're going to share respect for that, right? Share the relationships and pass that down. Relationships with families and begin to build that network vision that you have. Share that, pass that down with people, especially your children, so you don't have to worry about just money, right? Money without value rarely survives. Money without value rarely survives. It just do. You don't have values to it, so people just go out and just start spending. Just throw it in the window. It's almost like throwing it in the fireplace and letting it burn, right? Value creates wealth over and over again. When you have values, they're going to create that wealth for you over and over again. Here's a great quote. The greatest inheritance is not what you leave to your children. It is what you leave in them. It's not what you physically leave, but it's what you leave in them. Because that's going to carry on and carry on and carry on. So we got some really, really good things that's there. If your children inherit everything instead of everything you own, would they become wealthy? If your children inherit everything you know instead of everything you own, would they become wealthy? Think about that for a little bit. I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to let that simmer. Not because they have more money or not because they made more money, but just think about that. But because they changed the way their family think, or the way you change the way your family think, right? All right. So here's some of these questions that I want to leave you with. Here's some of these questions and quotes and all that good stuff. All right. Questions about for us. Questions for us. What are you passing down beside money? So we talked about that. If your paycheck stopped today, what assets will continue providing for your family? Ha! Woo! That's a good one right there. If your paycheck stopped today, what assets would you continue to provide for your family? That one. Are you building a lifestyle or are you building a legacy? Ooh-wee. Are you building a lifestyle or are you building a legacy? Are your children learning how to spend money or how to create wealth? There's a difference. There's a difference. Are your children learning how to spend money or how to create wealth? Does your family have a vision that will still matter 50, 60, 100 years from now? Think about that. Think about it. If your grandchildren meet you through your legacy instead of your presence, what would they say about you? I felt that hurt some people. Let me say it again. If your grandchildren met you through your legacy instead of your presence, what would they say about you? I hope y'all got those questions. That's so juicy right there. Final quote right here. I'm gonna give you two because the last one is good. Generational wealth is measured by the money you leave behind. It is not measured by the money you leave behind. It is measured by the number of lives that became stronger because you lived. Let me read that again. Generational wealth is not measured by the money you leave behind. It is measured by the number of lives that become stronger because you lived. Unknown author. Here's another one, another unknown author, right? But this is just some good quotes. I just have to put it in. Last one. This is the one I want you guys to just think about. Your last breath should never be the last day you influence creates wealth. Let me read that again. Your last breath should never be the last day your influence creates wealth. Woo! I'm going to read it one more again. Your last breath should never be the last day your influence creates wealth. My goodness. You think about the first story I told about Dr. Martin Luther King. Do you guys think his influence is still creating value today? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It is. It is absolutely doing that, and it's doing that hard. It's that good. It's that good. So listen, family, I hope this podcast helped. This was not one of those ones we were going to get excited about and run around, but this is one of those I wanted to take time with because I am thinking about, as we press forward to what's coming up next, right? That we understand all of the power that's in our lap and how we're creating generational wealth. If you're not, no worries. We can start right now. Regardless of when you're listening to it, we can talk about this right now. We can start it right now and go from there. All right. So listen, guys, I appreciate you so very much. I will see you guys next week again on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I am here, your host. So I'll see y'all next week. And until then, y'all have a powerful, powerful week, day, week, month, day, night. I don't care what it is. But just have a great time. I see y'all on the beaches of the world. We out. Peace.